Australia facts. What we call water fountains or bubblers here in the States. In Australia, they call them something different. They call them kegs because beer is Australian for water.
Wait, who calls them bubblers?
Never heard that in my life.
It's Mystery Road, eh? Nope. I guess that's going in. Fuck.
Yeah. Hey, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
That's cinema, baby.
So it's in Australia.
No, Mr. Wilson. I don't have to take that kind of talk from anyone.
That's right, you don't. How about going outside and trying to kick me around?
I'm not supposed to fight with the guests, Mr. Wilson.
I'm not a guest tonight, you yellow bastard. I happen to be an intruder.
It's The Good, the Pod, and the Ugly, your favorite podcast about movies, where we usually go over movies of directors or actors. We try to lump them in. We try to do a season where we group all these movies in together. But this season, we're doing a season where we all pick a movie, and there's 4 of us, so that makes 4 movies. So we're calling it, what are we calling it?
One by one.
One by one.
Yes, and this is the last one by one. It's also the last episode of season 14.
It's the last episode I'm introducing ever.
Yes. Yeah. So we started off doing a redux of movies we wanted to revisit because we have Ryan's been with us for not very long, Thomas quite a bit longer, but we revisited a bunch of movies, and then we're finishing off with each picking one movie that for one reason or another doesn't fit the normal parameters of how we pick movies. Thomas picked Hedwig and the Angry Inch, which is great.
Jack picked he picked that book that was really good with a decent movie. The Friends of Eddie Coyle.
Yeah.
And so I guess that leaves me to say what you picked.
Oh, you forgot about what Ryan picked. Ryan picked...
What did Ryan pick?
Risky Business.
Risky Business. Also excellent.
And Ryan, what did I pick?
Hedwig. Oh, Ken picked Mystery Row.
Woo, woo.
Mystery.
The Ivan Sen's 2013 Australian classic probably will be the least downloaded in America episode we've had in some time. Rather obscure over here. Mystery Road, my pick.
Yeah.
Well, this is Thomas, if we need to do that bit. Let people know who put a voice to a name.
Hi, Thomas. And we also have me, Ken.
And I'm Ryan.
And I'm Jack.
Yeah, we've been joined by Jack all season.
Woo! Thanks, Jack.
Yeah. After this, we're kicking him off.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mystery Road 2013. There were no Eastwards or Spielbergs that came out that year, so we didn't cover them. But it must have been a big year for Jack because Stray Dogs, Assault on Wall Street,
Yeah.
Oh,
all right.
and Joe all came out in 2013,
yeah.
and we covered on this podcast previously.
All 3 are fantastic.
That is a pretty good mix of movies.
And we're throwing Mystery Road in there, so maybe Mystery Road is great. Maybe not. Keep listening.
Yeah, Mystery Road I saw it first because Ryan, when he was just an occasional guest, told us about it, and it totally sounded like it was up my alley. So I jumped on it right away. And Ryan, sometimes you're right, like a broken clock.
It's true.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan.
And Mystery Road, the first time I saw it, absolutely up my street, so far up my alley. It's on the other side of the street, whatever you want to say. Everything about it clicked in a lot of ways that I want to get into for me personally. And then, of course, I went in and watched the sequel, the TV series, etc.
The Swanverse.
The Swanverse and the Senverse. Yeah. And I was sick this last week. I had a lot of free time, so I watched Mystery Road, the movie, Goldstone, the sequel, both with Aaron Pedersen as Swan. Woo. I watched the first 2 seasons of Mystery Road with Pedersen in a between calls that happened between Mystery Road and Goldstone, and then I watched Mystery Road Origins. I'd seen them all before, but I watched them all back to back to back. And then last night before Mystery Road, as the finale, I watched Sen's 2023 black and white spiritual cousin to Mystery Road, which is a movie called Limbo.
But wait, so you're not a completist because you didn't watch where the spinoff that they did that dramatized crime and weird happenings called Unsolved Mystery Road? Or the
Nope, didn't see that.
prequel where Pedersen's Detective Jay Swan plays a bouncer in Mystery Roadhouse.
He would be a good bouncer, actually. Jay Swan.
Or that throwback 60s foursome band. It's an origin story of the of Jack Charles, actor Jack Charles, old boy, who plays his uncle, old boy, who does the lyrics and the lead guitar on the road in a bus called Magic Mystery Road Tour.
Nope.
I think Jay Swan could really take any Swayze role, Aaron Pedersen.
Thomas, did you have a Scooby-Doo reference in there? They drive the Mystery Machine.
Oh, that's the Beatles. Oh, you're saying...
Moving on.
Is there Every Which Way You Can mystery where he teams up with an ape?
Ken's not the only one who's been sick this week. But to continue, I've not seen any of those other things. I saw Mystery Road twice, both times for this podcast. The first time with my spouse, we watched it because it was a DVD I had checked out from the Notmo County Library.
Shut up.
On recommendation. Then I realized that recommendation was we were covering it for the 1x1 to finish out the season instead of the Ken's original choice.
Yeah, so my original choice for a movie was Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, the Russ Meyer movie.
Woo.
And I decided that I just wanted to pick something that I didn't know if we'd ever get another chance to talk about that I really love. Beyond the Valley of the Dolls has a lot of stuff to talk about, but it's not a movie that I am as super passionate about as Mystery Road. So that's why I changed.
Mm-hmm. That's a good reason.
Nice.
Yeah.
So then I had a couple weeks break and watched it again for this recording.
Very good.
I have seen it twice, once for this podcast earlier today, and then once a couple years ago whenever Ryan recommended it, and then you watched it, and you were just raving about it like it was the best thing ever, so I had to give it a shot.
Yeah,
So
give it a go.
Second viewing.
Oh, I didn't know you had seen it before.
Yeah, Ryan, what about you? How many times have you seen it?
This was my fourth time, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're right about there.
Yeah. And I have also watched the two shows in between Mystery Road and its sequel, Goldstone, that I haven't yet cracked Origins, mostly because I have a hard time imagining anyone else playing Jay Swan.
So do you know the origin of Origins? Origin?
I don't know the origin of that one. I know the origin of
do you know why
world.
they had to go back and do a prequel?
No.
Aaron Pedersen has taken time off from acting to full-time take care of his special needs brother. And if you go online with videos of them together, it'll make you cry.
Well, that's a sweet story.
What a totally great man for doing that. Sen, who runs the Bunya Productions, who does all the movies and the shows, they had to recalibrate when Pedersen did that, and that's how they came across the idea for an origin, which I think is the best of the three series. But we're going to talk about the movie instead, right?
Yeah.
Yes. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
So Ivanson, he's a little bit of a Robert Rodriguez creator in the sense that he shoots his own films, edits them, directs them, writes them.
Yeah. And does the music. Did you say that?
Yeah. I mean, Robert Rodriguez does as well, often in his films.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting comparison.
The difference being is that Ivanson's garage is all of Australia, and Robert Rodriguez's garage is where he shoots his movies.
Yeah, Ivanson is from an alien planet that you might know as Australia.
Yeah. Yeah. So does anybody want to take a shot at what it's about?
Yeah. Well, I was going to give a little background on Ivan, but that queued me up perfectly before I was interrupted for another Australia fact. Men at Work got their name from a construction sign.
Oh, great fact.
They were Australian Men at Work?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to talk about the movie. The movie. This movie is the fourth feature-length film by Ivanson. It's his third narrative film, and it's his first genre film.
Yes.
So you can give that a moment to process. Sin himself is a biracial bloke. His dad's Croatian white, and his mom is a member of the Galamore. I hope I'm saying that right. Also, I hope I'm trying to be culturally sensitive throughout, right? Like, I think that the preferred term is Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people.
Interesting.
People from over First Peoples.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that one.
But I've I guess my generation growing up and when I was in Australia, I heard it as First Peoples. So
or First Nation, they call them that too. I think.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But again, I think the preferred term now is the longer. I don't have an acronym for it. They don't use an acronym, but Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people.
Are you gonna say that every time?
No, I don't know if I can. And some of my research is copied and pasted, and so I'm going to say Aboriginal Australian occasionally and other things.
Okay. And if anybody from Australia is listening, everything we say was full of respect, and we did as much as we could research wise. If we get stuff wrong and say the wrong thing, it's we're just stupid Americans.
I didn't do any research.
I think that was great context, Thomas. And for what it's worth, on the wikis, they seem comfortable referring to them as Indigenous Australians, but I like First Nation and First Peoples. I think that's seems like a respectful shorthand to use for the episode.
Yeah.
So, and they were there before like the British rolled up and tried to make it like a big old prison country.
Yeah, I think they've been there for thousands of years. It's one of the oldest surviving communities on the planet.
One of the great world cultures that, white man came along and tried to destroy it all.
Yeah.
A very familiar story. But given how long they had been there and then the deep culture that they have, plays a lot into what Sen is up to.
Yeah.
With this movie and a bunch of his subsequent movies.
And previous movies. He grew up often visiting, going back to the Aboriginal people with his mom because of domestic violence. And so he's the second child. And so he and his siblings ended up moving to a different location in New South Wales. For those unfamiliar with Australia, that is a state where Sydney is. It also contains the capital city, but the capital city is a little bit like Washington, D.C. It's its own state in itself. Anyhow, they would occasionally go back there after the move. He didn't quite seem to feel like he fit in, and he directed a lot of his energies towards art and other storytelling, which would be the basis for his first film. Was it Beneath Clouds?
Yeah, he made a couple of documentaries about missing women or women who went missing and then reappeared.
Yeah.
He has been in a lot of his interviews, he does talk about the amount of violence perpetrated against women, Aboriginal Australian women, and how nothing is ever done about it.
Yeah.
And he keeps going back to it. And you can see that in both the Mystery Road, the series, and then Limbo, the movie he made a couple years ago.
A big partner for him during this time, whenever he's making a lot of these documentaries for television, ABC television, which I think the A in there stands for Australia.
Yeah, that's correct.
Not American. That's right.
Is a producer named David Jowsey. And Jowsey and him would go on to make Bunya Productions. Bunya is a tree that fruits every 3 years, and there's a big festival with Indigenous people with that. So they called it Bunya Productions.
Oh, that's a cool origin.
Yeah, so that's what they make. Beneath the Clouds, a lot of other films, including Mystery Road, what we're talking about today, and that is their first big hit.
To go back a little bit further into the First Peoples, because Ivan Sen didn't just come out of nowhere, despite the fact that he has been the biggest commercial success to come from this Indigenous First Peoples movement in Australia. So he got his start in part hanging around with folks who came out of the Central Australian Aboriginal Media Association. And basically, a woman named Frida Glynn, who is First Peoples, along with another First Peoples guy, Philip Batty, and then a white fella, as they called him, John Makumba. I hope I'm saying that right. They started a radio station in Central Australia, one of the much more desolate places, and a place that's featured prominently in Sen's films. They started the radio station in 1980, and it was the first national voice for First Peoples. It was like the first time you could turn on the radio in Sydney and hear something directly from the people themselves. They had good luck with that. And when Australia got its first TV satellite, they lobbied hard, led by Freda Glenn, to get Aboriginal peoples and First Peoples broadcast space on that Australian satellite so they could extend their media into television. And then folks like Ivan Sen worked for the Central Australian Aboriginal Media Association to make those TV programs. And the organization became much like the BBC's satellite orgs in Great Britain, where several regional production companies are funded primarily to produce news and documentaries at first, and then they bubble up with original content out of that. And the first director, who's kind of the granddaddy of this movement in Australian cinema, is Warwick Thornton. He brought this community to fame with his film Samson and Delilah, which is about two first persons children who run away and try to live in the outback by themselves. And it won the Camera d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival. Did I do it? Woo! Yeah. So that really put his community on the map. And then, as Thomas said, one of the amazing things about this community is all of these people have helped each other make movies. So there are 5 or 6 filmmakers who are very close, including Ivan Sen and Warwick Thornton, a female director named Rachel Perkins, and Thornton's son. And together they've produced each other's movies, helped write them, and they've all had a great amount of success in Australia.
Wow.
Yeah, it is astonishing the number of the amount of people they bring in when they shoot one of their series or their movies in a community. Obviously, they bring jobs, but almost the entirety of the cast and crew is all First Nation people. The first season of the show was directed by Rachel. What's her name?
Rachel Perkins.
Yeah, and then the second season of Mystery Road Origin is also directed by a woman, whose name is Jub Clerk. So, and then the Origin was directed by the son, who is very young. I watched an interview with him. He looked like Jack's age.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Or Thomas's age. Yes. So what's really amazing about
whose son? Oh, the son
Warwick
of
Thornton.
Warwick
Thornton. Yeah.
And a series is like a TikTok, but longer, right?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, that's correct. Dylan River is the son's name. He
is absolutely fantastic director and writer and elevated the whole enterprise. Anyway, and that it came from this original movie, Mystery Road, and they've used it as a springboard to get these people to use the ABC's money and equipment, and it's really elevated a lot of voices that might not have been elevated without this initial movie we're talking about.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think it furthers the argument that if you gave any community the resources, like good filmmakers would emerge, and that the state sponsorship for this sort of stuff is super important. And it's notable that even though a lot of their material ended up being state sponsored, they really had to fight for that every step of the way to be considered a part of the larger Australian artistic community.
And they are telling stories that haven't been told before and showing Australia from a point of view that me, as an American, I've never seen before. This is an Australia that somebody lives in. It's not like a Greg McLean horror movie or travelogue. I mean, there's no kangaroos. There's no shots of koala bears or anything that might seem like a borderline travelogue. All the people that these stories are about are people that actually live there. And it's a perspective that I hadn't seen before. And it's a perspective that when fused with genre, which is what makes Mystery Road so great, that is the entryway to, because we know the genre, it's a cop drama about a cop he's torn between his people and the white police. And we've kind of seen that. And I think the way Sen fuses all of his obsessions and fascinations and themes, the entryway being such a strong genre piece, like it's just a really awesome cop story on one level. You know, it's the guy in the town and everybody's against him and he's trying to go to the truth, even if it destroys the entire town. It's something that you've seen before and it's done right. You love it. But everything else that it brings into it is really eye-opening. There's very few times. I love crime movies and
wait, Ken.
Yeah.
Let me stop you.
Yeah.
Because we're out of reactions. I don't want you to start dunking on this movie yet. I know you picked it just to go at it,
dunk
tear
on
to
it.
shreds, but ain't the time right now because this film. I mean, I think one of the things that this film did, and everybody's kind of touched on it, is create an industry that wasn't quite there before from something that's kind of magical. And it had a long origin to get there. Part of that is that this film, Mystery Road, by the production company, is the first time of that production company used professional actors. And by the time they got there, Sin was very good at working with, what do we call them? The actors that don't have any training?
Non-actors?
Yeah. Whatever we had in Joe, right? Like the movie Joe.
Oh, yeah.
You have people who are not actors being cast in the film. But one of the reasons that they're able to do that, and one of his muses for this story was Aaron Pedersen. So Aaron Pedersen was born in 1970, like Chris Nolan.
And?
I don't know anybody else that old. I'm sorry, Ken. But he is of Arinti and Arabana, sorry if I'm not saying those right, descent. So of two different First Peoples. He was one of 8 children, and he spent a lot of his time in a foster home. And he would go on and get his start and hosting the 6th and 7th seasons of a show called Blackout. And I know it's Australia, but it's not a drinking show. Black is the term that they use for themselves as a differentiator. What were the 3 things they said in the one episode, Ken, that helped you differentiate it?
The person was black, and they said black African, black Indian, or black fella.
Yeah, and black fella being a First Nation, right?
And also not being gendered.
Yeah. So Blackout was, like Ryan was saying, it came through the ABC television, and it was produced by and aimed for Indigenous people. It started in 1989, and he would host in the last 2 seasons, the 6th and 7th season of the show. And from that, he would go on to do Gladiators Australia, hosting the first season of that. It's like American Gladiators, but I think that they drink between the competitions. I'm not 100%.
Just between?
Well, they probably, I guess they might need somebody to hold their bear when they're boxing a kangaroo or something. I'm not sure. But then he would start being cast in the 90s in television dramas, like Wild Side. So he would play Vince Sinelli, an Italian-Australian lawyer, and he learns, he's a major character, but not the main character, and he would later learn of his Aboriginal heritage, and that would be a plot thread. And then after that, he did 2 seasons on a television series called The Circuit, where, as a series lead, he plays a lawyer who's aware of his Aboriginal heritage. So he played a lot of lawyers. And but he was a face that people knew if you were Australian. He could sell a movie because, like, oh, I know who that is. But for it to really take off and other people started signing on, whenever Hugo Weaving signed on.
Jono.
So we all know who Hugo Weaving is because we've all watched the 1993 film Reckless Kelly, starring, written by, and directed by Yahoo Serious.
What?
Yahoo Serious. Australia fact number 3. Yahoo Serious. Australian for Pauly Shore.
I think he was pre-Pauly, actually.
He was.
Yeah.
And when you say pre-Pauly, you mean pre-Pauly Shore, not before polyamorous relationships were a thing in the States.
Yeah, not before Pauly came back into fashion. That's true.
Yeah. No, so Hugo Weaving, who is a very familiar face, especially starting in the aughts in the States, but I always have like a heart-filled spot for Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Yeah, he's great in that.
But he's also the baddie in the Matrix movies, one of the goodies in the Lord of the Rings movies.
And
And
the guy behind the mask in V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, how did they get him to sign on for this project? What does anyone know the origin of that?
Yeah. So I got the DVD from the Winona County Library.
Shout out.
And it has 3 bonus features: a trailer, not pulled by a truck, but like a movie trailer. The making of and interviews with cast. Not the best special features, but it was free from the library. And on it, he says, Beneath Clouds by Sin, which is the autobiographical movie that he made about himself, is his daughter's favorite film.
Oh, wow.
And he liked some, I think he liked his second film as well, but like he was just a fan of Sin's work. And so they met, and he was like, yeah, I'll do it. And once he signed on, then you get other people in, like Tasma Walden and Ryan Kwanten. I don't know if I'm saying their names right. I don't.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Bruce Spence shows up there.
Bruce Spence?
Oh, yeah.
The gyro captain?
Yeah.
Sauron. Another Lord of the Rings veteran.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time I watched this, I had no idea, for one thing, that Hugo Weaving was Australian, and I also didn't know that was him. And I watched about 2/3 of this movie, and I was like, who is this Australian guy that looks like Hugo Weaving? He's really good. And eventually I had to pause and IMDb it. But yeah, I was surprised that he was in this.
Yeah, Jack Thompson shows up. One of the biggest names in Australian cinema. Who actually has a foundation for teaching Indigenous people how to give them the tools and the materials to build their own houses.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he's been on that side of things for a bit.
To your question, also broadly, Jack, I think there's a long tradition in Australian cinema to come back and make local movies to try and puff them up. Guy Pearce did that. Sam Neill did that with The Hunt for the Wilder People. I think it's cool, and I think it's a sign of a strong community.
Yeah, Weaving made quite a bit of money, as in the Matrix movies and a few others. And then he kind of went back to Australia to make Australian movies with Australian filmmakers. Pretty laudable. Awesome. Compared to some people like Mel Gibson, who isn't a real Australian, right?
Yes.
And he's a Holocaust man.
Well, we'll save some of that for our Mel Gibson season. Yeah, no, listening to the actors talk behind the scenes on the special features, they really... everyone from Pedersen to Tony Barry, the guy who played Sarge, they talk about an Australian community of actors, and like they talk about acting in a way that is really refreshing about storytelling and alchemy. And working with Sin was great for them because they're not in a big machine. They're directly working with somebody who wrote the script. They have direct access. They can talk about their ideas. They actually know everything that's going to happen in the film, as opposed to being sectioned off like it would with like IP franchised stuff. So they really felt like they could see themselves being part of the creation. It seemed more like the spirit you get from actors in a play than you do from people talking about the movie behind the scenes.
Yeah. Pretty much everyone in the movie has one meaty scene. If they appear on camera, then they really get a chance to shine.
They do, yeah. I watched a lecture Sen gave to the Australian Radio and Film Society, a bunch of students. And he was talking about his film Limbo, but as far as the filmmaking style, it applies to Mystery Road, where, he built a lot of the script based on location, that the locations directly inspiring him. But when he shoots a scene, oftentimes, like in most movies, they would be longer and they would have more explicit dialogue as far as exposition. And a lot of times when in the editing process, because that's the one art that separates film from others, he would continually pares it down. So it's just the emotion. So a lot of the dialogues actually ends up getting cut out. So you get this incredibly lean feeling finished film, which is still filled with emotion because the actors are expressing the emotion, but you didn't hear the dialogue either before or after.
Yeah, that makes sense. Self-editing is a gift if you can execute.
Hey, Fuck you too, man.
I love this movie.
No, we're not there yet.
Yes, we are. It's 32 minutes in.
Half an hour.
I want to say what this movie has in common with Risky Business.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Go
Okay.
for it.
Okay, so people just like fucking walk into other people's homes in both movies.
Uh-huh.
Both movies have bicycles. Both movies, I don't know if you saw it, but both movies have prostitutes.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Both movies have a protagonist who eats dinner alone, but will also eat dinner at a restaurant to say goodbye to a coworker. How about that? Okay?
Pretty good.
Both have stolen goods that are returned and are maybe secretly the plot of both movies.
Ah, well done.
Both have people wearing sunglasses.
Yep.
And both have ice cream.
Wow.
Coup de grace.
Thomas, you brought your A game. Thanks. The
Yes.
rest of us are sick.
I just felt like I had to go, I don't know, to a 10 there, or else you would just walk all over me and start having reactions because we haven't even talked about the plot yet. The viewer who hasn't seen the movie is like, wait, I've seen Risky Business. I know that there's ice cream in that. Is there ice cream really in Mystery Road?
I'd be happy to do a plot summary.
You did. I think you did last one.
All right.
My voice is going, so I'm going to hand it over to Jack.
Okay.
Why?
Because my voice is going.
I had to read the Wikipedia to even understand the plot. No, there's okay, so it's in Australia. Okay, so picture that.
Who, what, where, when, how?
It is a neo-noir Western picture following a police detective in a small town somewhere in Queensland, Australia, very barren, and the guy's named Jay Swan.
Yeah.
He's been on leave in an unnamed big city for an unknown reason.
The Big Smoke.
Big Smoke for quite some time, and he's just come back to his old police department, and he is on a case where an Indigenous girl has been found beneath a highway by a trucker, dead, and he starts investigating and comes to find that A, no one wants to deal with it, and B, it's all tying into this big old conspiracy that has to do with a rookie cop that was shot a year earlier and a couple other girls that have gone missing, and he is sort of torn between his sense of justice and everyone else in the police department roadblocking him in every way. And then he also has the interpersonal issues with his own family, his ex-wife who's an alcoholic, and his daughter who is
on the verge
of ending up in the same social circles of all these girls that have
not that it matters for the film or the synopsis, but are they divorced?
They're estranged.
They're at least estranged. Okay.
I don't think they're formally divorced, but I don't know that they were formally
great,
married.
Jack. I thought that was an excellent synopsis.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
And spoiler, it all ends with a sniper battle.
Yeah, sniper battle.
And one of Swan's obsessions is reports of wild feral dogs.
Yes, which I did not get the first time I watched this movie. That just completely passed over me. And then
dogs.
It's in Goldstone and it's in Limbo. It's like the dogs are always howling in the distance. It's completely eerie, and everybody always talks about it, but you rarely see them.
Well,
and the way this movie's filmed, I mean, it is set in Australia, which might as well be another planet, but this movie might as well take place on another planet.
Yeah, it could say Mars 2096 mining colony. And you're like, okay, that tracks. They're wearing cowboy hats. It's red dirt. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so Thomas, are you ready for your reaction? Now that it's been 36 minutes of recording, probably 28 minutes of usable material.
Well, we might bump it up with some ad reads.
Okay.
With our sponsor this week, Hoppy Joe Beer. But yeah, I guess we could get to reactions.
Ryan, you're the one that initially started this whole Mystery Road thing because you're the one that recommended it to us in the first place. So what about it is so powerful to you as a viewer?
Yeah, I saw, I think a lot of people saw The Proposition, the early 2010s Western with Guy Pearce and Danny Houston.
Written by Nick Cave.
Yes, and he does the music too, of course. But that movie made me very interested in the idea of just genre cinema set somewhere else, American genres recontextualized. So when this came out, I paid attention to it, but I didn't I couldn't find it for a long time. And then I was listening to a great podcast that's also insanely stupid called Screen Drafts, where they make best of lists for different genres or actors or something. It's very convoluted. Anyway, they did an Australian cinema draft, and the two Australian blokes who were on the show picked Goldstone, Mystery Road sequel, as their favorite Australian film. And they compared it to Die Hard and other things. But they also talked a lot about Mystery Road. So I actually wanted to only saw Mystery Road so I could watch Goldstone.
Gotcha.
That seemed like a very exciting movie.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then after finding Mystery Road and watching Goldstone, I discovered the first couple seasons of the television show.
Yeah.
And so why have you seen Mystery Road 4 frickin' times?
It's a great question. I really love, as you described it, Jack, it's a neo-noir. It's also a daytime noir, which is a rare genre that I love because most everything that happens in the film happens in the middle of a desert day, in a cruel outback setting. And then it has the cowboy thing. I love Westerns. And the complexity of, I guess for me, the thing that really sets it over the top, and Ken, you mentioned it before, but I think a perfect genre movie not only functions as a mechanical thing, where you're getting to the end of the story and it's interesting to watch the detective discover what's going to happen, but it also has this texture of place that really tells you something that you wouldn't otherwise never know about the world. And then the other thing I really love is the way, the second time what I really noticed and keep coming back to is Jay Swan is always trying to solve this case because he can't just ask his daughter what happened. His daughter knows, and the whole movie he just avoids having tough conversations with her. Mm-hmm. So he goes out and does detectiving. Wow. And that's such a great nuance to the story and a very interesting way to get at this kind of story.
Yeah.
Well said.
Thank you.
Thomas, you're the First Timers Club.
Yeah. I guess we'll put a pin in it. But I am curious if other people think that his daughter knows what actually happened. There's things that I like about the film, and that it's meandering in a way. We don't understand that there's drugs that have been stolen, or really what Hugo Weaving's character is, his alignment in the film.
Yeah.
Even at the end, I guess we still don't fully know.
Yeah.
But we, like, how legit he actually is with his informants. If he's double crossing the double crossers, how that's going to work out. But we don't get that element until very late in the film, which is interesting. I think my first watch going into it, I didn't know what the film was about. So I didn't see a preview. That's how I usually like to watch films. And if somebody told me prior to me watching it the first time, look, this is a genre film. It's a neo-noir set in Australia, and it's going to be daytime, and nothing too weird is going to happen, I might have been set up a little bit better for it. But there's three elements that come in to the film that don't quite ever do. Nothing happens with them, and it had me hoping for a different film. One of those is I thought that the reporter, any other film, the reporter from the first scene, and we see him again when he returns to the crime scene, would be central to helping the Swan solve the case.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The reporter disappears. That's fine. I like that in a way. But also, Swan talks about whenever he's looking at the expensive horse that the sergeant has, about his dad and him being able to ride horses. I was expecting a hero moment with him riding a horse at some point into a battle. Doesn't happen. Fine. It's just this isn't that movie, right? It's not Mel Gibson running to "I Need a Hero" after breaking out of chains in the buddy cop movie with Donald Glover. Daniel Glover. Oh, with Glover. I am sick.
Lethal Gambino.
Thank you. That'd be great. Oh my goodness. And then But I think the thing that really threw me off at some point, and we mentioned it a little bit earlier, is the gyro pilot from
Bruce Spence.
Yeah, Bruce Spence is a not mutitioner, but a forensic examiner in this. Look at the body, examining the young girl's body, finds some fiber, finds different things, finds on the phone a special gene in the dog. It's a super dog. We don't know what this DNA is, and it's not normal. And I'm like, fuck, this movie's gonna have mutant dogs.
Well, isn't that just alluding to the crossbreeds that whatever the kangaroo hunter was hunting with? One of those dogs bit her. Isn't that what that was supposed to be? And that's part of how he figures it out?
And the villains keep super dogs.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you're right. He isn't shooting down mutant super dogs that are running up the hill after him.
Whilst riding a horse with the reporter behind him, like calling out, like, on your 7, 11 o'clock. So ultimately, I am very curious to like this movie more after 2 watches by hearing what other people found that they liked about it. But for me, it felt like a movie that wanted to be a television series.
Interesting.
That didn't fully deliver for me.
I do think that is, as a hardcore genre fan, I think that is a danger of this approach to filmmaking, in the sense of it isn't really doing anything special with the detective part of the story. And to your point, it's even a little convoluted. So if you're not into the genre elements, then almost by design, some of the nuances are going to pass you by,
It's like,
wait, are you saying it's like jazz, the notes that they don't play?
Yes, to an extent. And I think it's an acquired taste to like something that's this hard-boiled detective kind of.
The pace of the film and the way Sen scores it, and the eerie aerial shots, which look like they're from a satellite above Mars watching a rover. Very early on, the pace of this movie kind of set me up what I was in for, and I guess maybe it's just totally my cup of tea. But the genre part is always is not the main thing for me. It's like seeing it through the eyes of someone I hadn't seen it through before.
Right.
Seeing a way of life that I hadn't seen portrayed this way before. And I was going to talk about Walter Mosley and the Easy Rollins novels, and the first time I read those. And that was a very similar experience, because I've read all the Raymond Chandlers and the Ross McDonalds and whatnot. And here is somebody taking that and putting it in distinctly Black culture from a Black point of view. And it completely opened my eyes and made me realize that with a genre story, you can tell stories about anybody. And the great thing about genre stories is that everybody understands them on a fundamental level. And then when you show them from another point of view, it changes our perception almost of the genre itself.
Totally.
And for this movie, this is like the one movie when I saw it, I said, yeah, this is what I want more of. I want to see more movies that are legitimately from someone I hadn't seen it from before, but it's still kind of the thing that I know.
Yeah.
Seeing their version of it, because it opens my eye up to so many other different cultures and ways of seeing the world that I don't see as a white guy in America.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And to both that point and Ryan's previous point about this as a genre picture, I feel like this is not the first neo-noir Western you show to someone, in the same way that like Unforgiven isn't the first Western that you show to someone,
Right?
Because you just wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
And so much of how great this movie is showing it from that perspective and playing with a lot of that stuff. And it knows it too. It's consciously aware of it. And like the detective always has a quirky old character that's hanging around the neighborhood that he goes to for information. But in this, his
old
uncle,
boy?
that is a
Old boy,
that's a real fucking dude. That's a real dude that lives that life. Like, even if that guy's an actor, you completely believe it as just someone that hangs around that neighborhood.
Yeah, that hair ain't method,
And every element of this movie is like it, to the point where even a big star like Hugo Weaving looks to be at least completely unrecognizable.
Yeah.
Which is why it works.
Yeah, and Ryan, you were saying earlier about everybody having like a one big meaty scene, and it's like all of these actors are of a piece. And Thomas, you touched a little bit on non-actors acting with real actors, and I think it's a real specific art. And when it's pulled off, and you kind of buy everybody within the same world, that's what separates, like great director with a director who can't, like 1517 in Paris, a movie we talked about recently, where it's just hard to juggle them. But when it works, it just feels like you have like a movie character or a character from a crime novel going into a real world place. It's like breaching the divide between what we know and what we don't know. And that's the chemistry and transcendence that this movie brings me personally.
I love what you said. I'd like to hear more from Thomas, but I love what you said there, Ken, about it being like a collision of fantasy and reality.
Wow. Yeah. And that's the best detective movie is Rip Van Marlow, character from a 1950s detective story suddenly waking up in the 70s. It's totally the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I mean, the shootout in this fucking movie. Get the fuck out of town. You don't make that shootout, this movie falls apart maybe, but that fucking shootout.
And that's the weird thing, is going into this not knowing there's a shootout, because with this type of story, there's going to be a shootout. But watching it the first time, not knowing when that moment's coming, and then watching it the second time, just waiting for it, it's like you almost can't see. I'm curious to what you think about this, Thomas, because you almost, on my first viewing, at least, I couldn't see it going that direction, this story.
I knew that there was going to be. I knew that there was probably going to be a sniper battle for some reason. I mean, I guess for the reasons of who's the highly billed young Ryan Kwanten's character,
True Blood.
Remember, he's talking about his ability to make a headshot or a shot at a certain distance, and Aaron Pedersen's Swan character isn't as impressed as you would expect, and he buys the ammo early on where he's looking at the hunting knife. So I was set up, and he practices shooting.
That's true.
40s, but they don't call them 40s there. Listen to our ad read later in this episode.
The 60s?
We don't have
ounces. Big bottles. Oh,
so it's in liters.
I believe they call them breakfast.
So yeah, I knew that I felt like that would probably be a part of the movie. I didn't realize it was going to be. And it might even be the climax of the movie. I just didn't realize it was going to also have Hugo Weaving there. And when he shows up, it really is a cheer in your seats, cheer in your chair, hurrah moment.
An interesting detail that I caught on this last viewing was when Aaron Pedersen and Hugo Weaving sit down for the first time. Hugo Weaving's character, the first thing he asks is, "What are you packing?" And normally in an American film, that would be your sidearm. Yeah. But Jay knows that Aaron Pedersen knows he's talking about their rifles, their hunting rifles, which is a fascinating detail about living in the outback.
Mm-hmm.
As a lover of all things Australia, I used to, when I was a kid, I'm 21. When I was younger, I used to listen to lots of Australian podcasts, and like I would fall asleep listening to Australian podcasts, and some of like the weird turns of phrase and slang that they use kind of got stuck in my head.
Yeah.
And then watching that great show, Mr. In Between, I still say, how you going? So how's it going? Sometimes people have no idea what I'm asking them. But I love those little bits of slang that they use. And this movie is so full. Like when the sergeant says, a day like this, I could use a glass of amber.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Yeah, and isn't it the morning time? But
yeah.
But I do. So one of the things I think maybe it set me up for this being a little bit weirder or more interesting is that ice cream scene where he first meets Sarge. He's like, "It's a little early in the day, isn't it?" And he's eating ice cream. I was like, "Oh, he's a teetotaler, and this is his way around drinking." But nope, he's just another Australian.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, because having watched this film and knowing how much you love this film, Ken, because of just how eager you were to talk about it, this movie and another movie both have a white hunter in them. They both have a black person who dies. They both have someone who tells a story about a dog. They both have rifles.
Yeah.
They both have unusual accents. And I was going to say both of them have deserts, both this and White Hunter Blackheart, but I think it's really a savanna that they're in.
Yeah,
for White Hunter Blackheart.
I don't think there's too much overlay between the two movies.
Okay.
I do think Sen has an Eastwood type quality to some of his direction choices, but not necessarily White Hunter Blackheart Eastwood.
I think him coming from both a writer, composer, and editor background, geez, he really fucking does it all.
Yeah.
It makes him a completely different animal as far as a director goes, because it's not him coming into a project someone else has written. It's like it's him all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's amazing how to go from script to editing, and then you also include cinematography in there. You do not have a whole lot of guys working at this level of quality with this level of craft anywhere.
Yeah,
it's astonishing, really, what he gets away with. Not that he's getting away with it. I mean, it's astonishing what he does with it.
What he can do, because I would agree that tonally the performances are great. One of my favorite is the kid who asks for the gun in return for the cell phone.
Yeah.
And he looks back at his friends holding the gun. He's like,
and his little friend that's like, we hate cops here, bro.
Yeah.
I kill cops here, bro.
Yeah. This reminded me a little bit of the series Scalped by Jason Aaron.
I've never heard of it.
Oh, yeah, the Native American undercover guy goes back to a casino. Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's a good plot, and I think it falls a little bit more in line with my sense of pacing and structure and expectations than this film. But I think that as a level of craft, it's a perfectly great film. It looks great. It's well edited. Gets great performances.
Mm-hmm.
I have a very specific question about the direction, and I love this movie. It's definitely one of my favorites, and I really think it is one of the best movies of the last 20 years or so. But there's one scene that bugged me the first time I watched it, and I was thinking of it the whole time, and it still bugged me the second watch, which is it's pretty early on when they're in the restaurant.
Yeah.
That scene is like weirdly overlit, like from the top down, and the camera is circling when it's cutting between the characters talking. It's circling around them the whole time, and he never does anything else like that the whole movie. It's very static shots.
You just ruined that scene for me. Now every time I watch the movie,
I was wondering.
I think it's very important.
I think it is a sense that he doesn't feel like he belongs with these other cops.
Yeah.
And therefore it's shot differently and it feels differently, and it feels almost like a different movie.
Yeah.
All these cops are in a different movie. They're maybe in like a Scorsese film.
Yeah, right. It is Scorsese or Tarantino. It's also that scene is why Hugo Weaving comes and helps him in the end. I think Weaving's character is corrupt, but admires Jay's commitment to being a cop, and I think his character is supposed to be sincere when he talked about how he got into this to do good.
I disagree.
Interesting.
I don't think he comes and helps him at all. I thought that the first time I watched it.
Okay.
And the second time I watched it, I was like, oh, he's cleaning up the entire mess.
Yeah.
If everyone's dead, he has no connection to it. Because he threatens his freaking daughter. He basically threatens to have his daughter
killed. That's very...
Jack's reading is totally mine. And I think the key to that is their scene in the restaurant where Jay asks him about the cop who was killed, and Weaving has that disgusting moment where throws up into his napkin.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man. By the way, that is one of the best scenes in the entire movie. That entire sequence, and then the scene where he's with the guy, the Jack Thompson.
Well, so that scene for me is as good as the scene in Heat with De Niro and Pacino eating together, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I think what helps that scene so much, and it's a great moment, is tensions are high. Is this guy going to just maybe even shoot him here? right?
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden, two people walk through the doors.
Yes.
Two bad hombres walk through the door.
They look like a couple of bikers.
Yeah. And you're like, oh shit, things are going to get real. And you see Weaving like look at them in a way that's like, oh, shit's about to get real. And like Pedersen has like a little bit of fear. And the two dudes grab their to-go order and walk out the door.
Yeah, so good. So good. I think to Thomas's recommendation of Scalped as something similar, this movie really reminds me of Gone Baby Gone, the Ben Affleck movie about a detective in South Boston. I think it's
we should cover that on the podcast sometime, shouldn't we, Thomas?
Yeah, maybe we should do something where we pair an actor who also directs films with one of his acting films. Maybe we could do Daredevil with it. How about that? We'll do Daredevil and Gone Baby Gone. Maybe we could read the book about it. Talk about it for a few hours.
Dang, yo. Just as but for people who haven't maybe heard that episode,
go back and listen.
It's a good one.
Read the book.
Gone Baby Gone's a great movie.
Yeah, and also Fresh. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but that is a movie about like a 12-year-old kid who lives in the South Bronx.
Yeah,
yeah,
and he sets up like this Rube Goldberg ending of
he thinks
Home Alone.
He uses his knowledge of chess, which he gets from his estranged dad, Samuel Jackson, to outsmart Giancarlo Esposito's drug dealer.
Yeah.
That sounds like the weirdest remake of Home Alone ever.
With music by the Jizza from Wu-Tang.
Well, I think I like my noir more like Brick, but
yes.
Hammett-esque.
That makes sense.
Super stylized. And occasionally pull out and like, oh, these are kids.
Yeah. But I want to talk a little bit more about Sen's sense of an entire people being dispossessed and always looking for a place. And that's kind of how he sees a lot of the people in his stories. And specifically about the women who are murdered. And all of his stories have stories about women who are murdered or disappeared. And they're just kind of forgotten.
Oh.
And they're not.
And the girl is so young.
Yeah.
It's like there's a prostitute down there in the Slaughter Creek or whatever. And it's like a little kid.
Yeah.
His daughter is like a little kid.
Yeah. And they do such a good job of making her. She might be 16 or something, and she looks like a woman, but everything about that actress's demeanor is very childlike, It's really startling in that way.
Swan in this movie and in like a lot of the TV series, I mean, he comes in and it's just like there's part of him, obviously he's the guy pulled from two different sides, but he's just looking for the truth. And at the end of every story, he kind of leaves a town completely in ruin because everything comes up. He's like, bye everybody, going to the next town.
Yeah. So that's actually a question I had is like, what happens after this? And I know that the movie's over, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Is this, for one thing, in the context of just this alone, like what happens? Does he report that?
Wait, you didn't see the post-credit scene?
No, I did not.
Well, I guess even more immediate to that, Jack, is at the end of the film, we see a scene. And I think there's a couple, maybe two different ways of reading that scene, and I'm not too sure which is the right one. Just like I don't know if we don't know if Hugo Weaving is going to kill him during that shootout or not. I think that's ambiguous. At the end, Swan drives up, and his wife or ex-wife, estranged wife, is there with his daughter. Are they out hooking, or are they out waiting for him?
I've thought, it's kind of, you find out in the TV shows, but they are waiting for him. The wife is insisting that he let them move into his house, which she kind of brings up several times in the movie, like, all alone in that big house. You're all alone in that big house.
Oh, I didn't think that she wanted in whenever she said that. It seemed like she was just mocking him for staying with their old memories.
Yeah. I also, for me, it's very strongly evokes The Graduate. It's the exact same, like, we're together now, but that doesn't mean anything is going to work.
A really interesting thing about that dynamic between him and his estranged wife is that in the neo-noir movie, you always have a scene where he goes and beats up the boyfriend or the husband that's been beaten.
And it doesn't happen.
It doesn't. He doesn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
She made her own choices. She's a grown-ass woman.
Yeah. And it's, I feel from watching it more that there is probably there's a violent history between them as well. Probably Jay wasn't the best guy when they were together. They allude to him having been a drinker. But you do get at a larger thing, Jack, that I think ties into what Ken was saying about the focus on dead girls in these pieces of media. It's very, that stuff is treated with respect, and there's no exploitation. There aren't gory pictures of women's splayed bodies or any shots of like women being murdered in real time. So it's very haunting the way he handles it every time it happens.
And all of these stories, Goldstone and then the TV series, the truth is rarely, if ever, cathartic.
Yeah.
He gets to it, but the truth just, it's like a very light scab over something. And then the end of these stories is basically he just tore it off.
Yeah.
And I mean, we could see a lot of that in America because we were all post-racial after electing Obama twice.
Yeah.
And then whoosh, it all comes back. So it's all right there on the surface. And yeah, it's a very sad, very subdued anger, because it's not an angry movie about these girls, but just percolating beneath the surface is like this entire culture just being wiped away. And a lot of people not caring about it.
Yeah.
Wow. But at least he gets to have an awesome, badass shootout with a bunch of meaty squibs where he kills the bad guys.
Yeah, it's always nice to see him kill a bunch of whiteys. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazingly staged and paced and squibbed.
One of the best shootouts since Heat, I would say.
Yeah.
And I do like how Swan, whenever he's shooting his handgun, it's just kind of spraying it.
Yeah.
They're really poor shots in a very convincing way. A lot of the people in this gun battle.
Yeah. And that sniper battle with True Blood. Jesus Christ. One of the coolest shootouts.
It's so satisfying how smug and subtly, kind of unsubtly racist, and just, man, you want to see that guy get shot in the head so bad.
One thing that when Thomas was talking about the diner scene, something I realized that this movie does really well is anytime Jay is in a room with a bunch of white people, just there's an ambient tension and threat level just from being surrounded by whites,
Yeah.
Where it's like very volatile.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's difficult as a white person in the United States watching this film, myself talking about, is to understand fully the racial context of another country. Maybe even manifesting the idea of like, oh yeah, black doesn't mean black in the way that we think of whenever they say it. And so there's like a pretty big tension between the rancher, the father of the Ryan Kwanten character, True Blood.
Yeah. That scene where he can't even look at Jay as he's talking to him.
Exactly. And so a lot of it's done with body language, but I'm also not too sure like where the slurs might be happening or where the full disrespect might be coming from, or if it's
fascinating.
If it's not necessarily there, it's all in body language.
I sort of feel, and I've never thought about this before, Thomas, I think it's a fascinating observation that there's a complacency among the whites in a lot of the Australian cinema I've seen that deals with racism just because they are winning. In the long fight for who controls Australia, they've been ahead since the start and they're still winning,
Yeah.
So whenever he says something about the Swan character says something about having so many acres, I mean, those are acres that did not always belong to that man and that man's government, right? That they belong to the first people.
There's such great writing in that whole exchange.
Yeah. And so there's definitely there, but I'm not I'm assuming that they are both talking and understanding the code there when he says that, but I'm not 100%.
Uh-huh.
And I think I would be closer to 100% if I was Australian.
Uh-huh.
But so there is a little bit of a remove for me as a viewer because I'm having to question those elements.
That's why you need to watch all 20 hours of the Jay Swan saga, Thomas. You know?
I would, if I were going to recommend, I would say obviously watch Goldstone first after Mystery Road. I made the mistake the first time of watching Mystery Road 2 seasons and then Goldstone. But emotionally, it just ruins everything if you watch it out of order.
I do
so just watch them in the order they are made.
Yeah, I think you're right, Ken, although I rewatched Goldstone after watching the second season of the show. And there's a real emotional payoff the first time you see Jay Swan after you've seen what happened in the second season to him. You're like, oh yeah, this guy is totally fucked up. That's true.
Yeah. Goldstone is great. If you're a fan of Mystery Road, Goldstone is a must. It actually looks more like Another Planet than Mystery Road. And I would go further as to say Limbo, the black and white movie he made a couple years ago, furthers that even more.
Wow.
Yeah. They just look like completely other planet. I don't know why people go to Iceland all the time to shoot other planets. They got it there in Australia.
Yeah.
And Jay Swan is just more of him is never a bad thing. He is so badass, and like it's not like Dirty Harry where he's like badass and you're like,
he's conflicted.
Yeah, he is awesome. And he says, what's his little catchphrase? Is that a fact?
Is that a fact?
Yeah. Says that all the time.
I say it all the time now.
Yeah, me too.
Directly from this movie. Is that a fact? Yeah, it is.
I guess I just had one more thing to touch on.
One more thing.
Columbo.
The other great TV cop.
Yes.
But he's a movie cop too.
Is that the magic of movies, and Quentin Tarantino tried doing this with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and whatever. It doesn't work. But the magic of movies is that it isn't real life and that it is a story of what you're seeing. It's not real. It doesn't take place here on Earth. And I think what really touches me the most about Mystery Road and why I love it so much is that it's not a revenge movie, but what happens to these motherfuckers who are real people. These guys do exist in the real world somewhere doing all this heinous, horrible shit and getting away with it.
Yeah.
But in the movie, they don't get away with it. Jay Swan comes in and he fucks them all up.
Yeah.
And that's part of what makes this movie so great, to me at least, is that there is something emotionally satisfying about being able to live in that reality for a couple hours and then you turn it back off and check the news and realize how shitty real life is.
Wait, I'm sorry, my audio dropped out for a little bit. Well, we talking about assault on Wall Street?
Yes.
Okay.
For those interested in further films from this movement, another genre picture is Warwick Thornton's Sweet Country, which is a Western set in 1923. And the star, I'm trying to see his name clearly, who I believe is named Hamilton Morris, is the First Peoples actor that you might recognize from Crocodile Dundee or The Proposition when he was younger. And he gets to play an old badass First Peoples guy on the run with his wife.
This looks
in the middle
great.
of the outback. He's wanted for a crime that he didn't commit or was committed under different circumstances. And so this 75-year-old half-blind motherfucker just takes off into the desert. And it's, for some reason, it reminds me of the James Garner picture Tank from the early 1980s. Ken, did you see Tank?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Incredible.
That everything up to relating it to Tank sounds totally like my jam, Ryan. You lost me there with Tank. Hey, Tank's not bad, but I was picturing a different movie.
Yeah.
This looks awesome.
In the sense that it's like, it's not a thriller. It's like he's getting one over, and it's kind of a good time.
I would highly recommend Limbo from 2023 with Simon Banker, The Mentalist. The Guardian.
Woo! The poster for Tank is amazing.
Tank is a movie that you would really love, Thomas. And
Tank looks like it should be truck drivers, but they're driving a tank.
Yes, that is exactly the tone of the film. His son, James Garner, is a lieutenant or a corporal or some shit in the military. And his kid gets busted when the local cop plants some grass in his locker.
We were talking about movies made by Aboriginal Australians, and you had to turn into fucking Tank starring James Garner.
We can go back to Limbo, which I'm very excited to see.
Yeah, me too. I'm really excited.
It's at a much lower key than Goldstone or Mystery Road, and sometimes you see a movie, and it just feels like, oh, this movie was made just for me. It's like the pace of it is very similar to Mystery Road, but it doesn't have as much of the mystery part is not really as paramount. And it's got some of the strangest, most beautiful, haunting locations. Simon Baker's character is another interesting twist on, white guy sent to look at an old cold case, and he's got doesn't really care. He's a heroin addict. Not gonna spoil too much. Yeah, at the end of the movie, I was just like, practically in tears, just because sometimes you see a movie and the way he scores his movies, the way he shoots them and edits them is so dreamlike. It really gives you a feel of a place and a time. And it just like hits you sometimes.
Yeah.
Totally loved it. 5 out of 5. Whatever.
That's good. If you're
that fucker on Letterboxd who gave it 2.5 stars and said, "This isn't a slow burn. What a slow burn needs to do." I wanted to reach through my phone and slap that little bitch. And then I look at his 4 favorites, and he has 2 Tyler Sheridan movies on his 4 favorites.
No!
So fuck you little bitch. Letterboxd is spying on you.
You should log into the official Good Pod and Ugly account and just comment pan scan.
Thank you guys for all watching and talking about this movie for the past hour and some minutes. I totally love it. Thank you again, Ryan, for sharing it with us a couple years ago.
Yeah, I'm really excited that you guys enjoyed it as much as you have. I think he's wonderful. I think this whole movement is really awesome. So,
yeah. Thank you for that. And speaking of squibs,
yeah, this is a great.
We're killing off
segue.
This season, and in 3 weeks we're going to have season premiere of our long gestating, blood-filled condom of a season.
Yes,
Squib season. It's finally happening.
Woo! Squib season. Woo! That was
excited.
A preview from the new theme song.
That's really going to make people tune in.
What's our first pairing for that?
What are we popping off with?
I believe our first pairing is Hell to Eternity, one of the first film uses of squibs. It's a war movie, a war picture. And then Revenge.
Ooh.
From should have been Oscar winner Catherine, French name.
Caroline.
Caroline. I didn't even get her first name. Right.
Well, it's something French, so we don't have to accurately say it.
Yeah, yes. From the director who made that Demi Moore movie that everybody liked.
Striptease?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's going to be great. That's a really great pairing. 2 movies from opposite ends of the movie spectrum. It's like we're going back to our roots, a temporal pincer.
Temporal pincer movement. It's going to be fantastic. This was a great season, though. Redux and One by Ones. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, you guys like good movies, turns out.
Some of us.
Yeah, and she. Thomas, do you have any more ads for us?
Oh,
Australia Effects?
We could insert another ad here. I have just a general Australian actor fact. This always blew my mind that after hosting the 59th Annual Academy Awards with Chevy Chase and Goldie Hawn, Paul Hogan of Crocodile Dundee fame, refused the starring role in Ghost.
Yeah, he was really on one.
And Whoopi Goldberg ended up winning that Oscar.
What are some other good, we can plug other monuments to Australian cinema, like Shrimp on the Barbie and
Young Einstein.
Yahoo Serious and Young Einstein.
Yeah.
A must watch for any Pauly Shore fan.
What are we talking about? I thought we were talking about Squib season.
This is where we
Didn't
fade out,
Baz
isn't
Luhrmann
it?
make an Australian?
Oh yeah, when we fade out. Or do we say goodbye? I thought you had more commercials. Or not
we'll do it
commercials,
after we wrap.
Okay.
Or
Okay.
rapping?
Mine was a commercial for Cheech Marin's Shrimp on the Barbie. I don't know what you guys were doing.
Yeah. Held to Eternity. 3 weeks.
Woo.
Season premiere. New theme song, right, Ryan?
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right, bye. I'm going to leave a lot of time before I stop recording. So if anything has funny to say to fade out with, now's your chance.
Okay, here's some ad reads.
So close.
Sober. Don't want to be. Of course not. You're Australian. Up for some target practice there. Just for you, mate. Hoppy Joe Beer presents 1.18294 liters to freedom. Now drink your IPA in an easy to hold 1.8294 liter bottle. Buy 2, conveniently tape both to your hands, and be life of the party with Hoppy Joe Beer. Get your hop on. Dingo ate your baby. Try Hoppy Joe's new private batch. Dingo Unchained. Let the wild dog out in ya. Get your hop on. Warrants out for your arrest. Of course there is. Australia is the prison island land of interbreeding criminal types. Now, Hoppy Joe Beer, in conjunction with Ned Kelly Brewing, makers of Nobody's Taking Me Alive, presents their new combo, Liquid Courage of Conviction. Get your hop on. So just splice those wherever you want in the episode.
God.
I think you killed my
You're
dad.
killing me.
How you going?
Written by Nick Cave.
Is that, did I do it?
Gladiators Australia.
One more thing. Letterboxd is spying on you.